Good evening, one and all. How's everybody doing today? Ready for some macro talk? I bet you are. It is Tuesday, 8 o'clock in the evening, and we're going to be talking about macro for the next hour, and probably some other things as well. If somebody would let me know that you can hear me so that I can be reassured on that point, then we'll begin. There's been a lot of chit-chat going on. Bud is out there in the audience. Bud is one of our moderators. Thank you, Bud, for being here. I appreciate it. And Amy is here as well. She's the bouncer-in-chief. Hey, Amy. Hope all is well with you. Let me see. There were some questions that came in right away. And can you hear me? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you would. Yep, okay, David did. Fantastic. David's in Winthrop, Maine. It's cold up there. It's going to be cold for a little while longer, I suspect. Michelle, welcome back. Glad to have you here. Let me see. What are we going to be talking about tonight? We're going to be talking about enlarger lenses. We're going to be talking a little bit about copy lenses, slide duplication lenses, and the difference between the two. We're going to talk about microscopes. We're going to talk about having fun with your photography. A lot of things to talk about. And I'm going to give you some news about some things that are changing. That'll be good too. Hey Robert, glad you made it. We've got some of your stuff out here today that I'm going to be showing everybody in just a little bit. It's some very interesting equipment that we're going to be talking about. This is some of the stuff that was donated by Robert, and some of the stuff that's going to be given away in prizes. I hate to say, but there you go. It will be. I'm going to explain the difference between this apparatus and the enlarger apparatus that uses the enlarger lenses that we talk about. There have been a number of questions about that. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. But until then, I wanted to ask you a question that I want you to think about during this next hour. Do you have fun with your macro photography? Is it still fun? If it's not fun, do you know why not? And what can I do to make it more fun? Why is that important? Well, I'm planning the coming year. And yeah, all right, I'm a couple of months late in doing that, but I have several things that I'm thinking about doing, several ways that I want things to go. But I want to know where you are in your photography. What would make macro more exciting, more interesting, more fun for you that's missing from it right now? I know what would make it more fun for me is doing some of it from time to time. So yeah, that would be top of my list. Take some pictures. But your list is probably different than mine. Walter wants to know if I ever figured out how to take pictures. No, how to do live streaming through my Fuji X-T2. What do you think, Walter? Do you think I could do that? It's very possible that is now what you're looking through. That is my X-T2 through the Leica microscope and looking at some bugs that I caught in the back garden. Yeah, quite a selection. So we now have excellent streaming video from the microscope using the Fuji camera. So that's going to be something that's going to be different. I still haven't figured out how to get the surgical part to work so that I can do demonstrations, but at least we can spend some time looking at stuff through the microscope, and that's better than nothing. So how about if there were one particular place that you could go to pick and choose the information that you get about your macro? Maybe it's videos you want, or articles, or long articles, or maybe you want some help doing some shopping, finding the right adapters, picking the best camera for your needs, where to get objectives, all that stuff all ties in to the bigger macro picture. And right now, that is a stumbling block for a lot of new people who are just getting into it. They're really eager to do the same kind of stuff I'm doing in the videos, but don't know quite where to begin. You know, what kind of camera you need, what kind of lenses, that type of thing. Well, I've been working behind the scenes with a developer to build a new website. Yeah, that's a good name for it. That kind of sums it up, because it's a site and it's on the web. But it is going to be a different kind of website. It's nothing like my place right now, which is a bit difficult to get around in. This is going to be something that is designed with only one purpose in mind, and that is to make your macro photography more fun, to free up more of your time to do the part of it that you like, and to give you a way to track down everything that I've ever said on a subject. That sounds like torture, doesn't it? Okay, but you don't have to read it all. You can just pick the parts that you want. Or every video that I've made, anything that you want to see. It's going to be structured into learning paths, you could call them. Ways that lead in a certain direction, but give you lots of options along the way of things that you might want to explore, things you might want to try. And it'll explain everything you need to know, from technique to the right equipment, where to get it, how to set it up, how to use it. You name it. If you have a question about it, I'll have answered it, or I will answer it. There may one day even be courses available through that same platform. But wouldn't that be nice if something like that actually existed? Well, it might. It might. You just have to wait and see a little bit longer, and then I'll tell you if it exists or not. Yes, it probably will be. So that's going to be a big impact, I think, on how you view your macro. And it's all about making it more fun for you. So leave a comment. Tell me what's missing. What do you want? What would make your life better as a macro photographer? Probably me not talking like quite this much, right? That would be one of the ways. Okay. Well, we'll talk about these lenses here in just a second, but let me finish saying hi to some people. David was, I saw, David, you left a comment, that you bought yet another dud EL Nikkor, a 50mm f2.8. Deal fell through because the lens was a cheap enlarger lens. Oh, well, that's a shame. Yeah, so you're back to square one. I don't know why you're having so much trouble with it. I have 3 on my desk. Well, it took me a long time to get 3 on my desk, and one of them isn't even mine, but yeah. He's talking about these. This is an EL Nikkor f2.8. This is the non-N version. They make these in a lot of different focal lengths, and a lot of confusion has recently come about what they're used for, because it's from a bygone era. These used to be used as exactly what they're called, enlarger lens. They would take an image, a picture. It would be projected through the lens onto your photographic medium on a stand. So it would be held up with the light above the tabletop, and you would expose your medium to the light in a controlled lighting situation and take a picture of it, basically. That's what it was. It's how you would turn a negative into a photograph, was with one of these. And the different focal lengths would be for different size film and for different effects. Now, that is very distinct from what we talk about when we talk about slide duplication. And some people, because I have talked about the two in the same sentence from time to time, it confuses people. And the other thing that confuses people is, why EL Nikkor? Why do I bang on about these lenses when there are arguably better lenses out there on the market? Things like the Rodenstock Rodagon. Yes, it probably is in some respects a better lens. It's a $700 lens, and it is apochromatic, so it has all the wavelengths of light corrected, which makes for very nice pictures, completely free of chromatic aberration. And they are lovely lenses, very flat, very sharp. The other one, that the Companon S, which is a Schneider lens, which is another contemporary lens that's still made. I don't have one to show you because they're $800 new, and they're hard to find used. Also a beautiful lens, also incredibly flat, sharp corner to corner. The Companon will, the 80mm, which is the one I would want, is a fantastic lens, and it gives you coverage for really gigantic pictures, something like 6x6. So it's a very nice lens, but it does a completely different job than you're doing here. This is a slide duplicator, and this is the thing that I've been telling you about that I was going to be giving away as a prize. This is a completely different thing, and some of it will remind you of macro photography though, because that's really what we have here, is a macro photography setup. The apparatus to make pictures out of slides, or to duplicate slides, or to make prints out of them, is this. It is some type of a holder, this, that has some frosted glass in it so that you can illuminate it from behind. And then you have a slot in the top that accepts a slide. You can actually, using these two round thingies, you can run a roll of tape through it, a bit at a time. Then you have an assembly of lenses and adapters, or a lens and adapters that are going to be what takes the picture of the film, and then your bellows, which is going to be your variable extension, so you can change the magnification. Because obviously, if you have a slide that's 35mm by 24mm, you want it to be a little bit bigger if you're going to do anything with it. Otherwise, it'll just be another small picture. And that's what the bellows are for. So this is what the setup looks like. Back in the day, if you had slides that you know, a lot of cameras took film that made slides, not prints, then you'd end up with a roll of negative film. And how would you turn that into a print? Well, that's how you do it. You'd put it in here, and then you'd take a picture of it with your camera. That's the only piece I don't have, is an authentic camera of this era. This is all original. This is all Nikon stuff, and this was released. I think this bellows mechanism was first released the year I was born. That makes it almost 200 years old. So it's an antiquity, really. And it's absolutely gorgeous. It is stunning. And the parts, just so as you know, and this will be interesting, because if you've ever messed around with adapters, then you know that some of them are very popular. We use them for a lot of different things. They have specific names and numbers that we're familiar with, but you might not have known what they were made for. For example, the BR2 and the BR3 that we always are going on about, they were made for this. This is where they broke onto the scene. The assembly here is incredibly complicated. It became easier when they decided, you know, we already have bellows. Why don't we just use the bellows people are already using for photography and just stick something like this on the end of it? So this is the slide duplicator that goes on the PB6 bellows that I have. It's much more compact. It's just as well made. It's absolutely stunning. Mr. Mike Canfer gave me this for Christmas last year, and yeah, what a great gift that was. It's a lovely piece of history there. This was before that time even, and the entire assembly is adjustable. Everything is adjustable with bellows, and so you can adjust the distance from the image to the lens, or from the lens to the film in this case, or the sensor if you're using this with your modern camera. And in here we have this should remind you a little bit of the BR6, the way these parts operate together. But this is the actual duplicator part, and this slides into a hole in the bellows. We'll get this out of the way to make room, and I'll show you what the adapters do. This you'll be familiar with. This is a modern BR3. I say modern, it's mine, because the BR3 that comes with it, I couldn't get it to work. Something wrong with it. I mean, something wrong with me using it, but it's lovely. It's actually got a bayonet cable release that's going to fire the shutter for you, or actually control the aperture for you using the aperture control sleeve. Right, hang on. This is too difficult. I can't point it at the camera because of the angle. Okay, so this is the lens, and this is a lens you've seen before. This is the 50mm f2. It's an old, it's pre-D days, so it's the old AI lens, and this is lovely. This is an absolutely gorgeous lens, and it was made for this purpose. It was made to go on this device, which is why the filter thread screws into this BR2 adapter, another one you're familiar with, only this is heavier and nicer than the ones we get these days. This screws into the front of the lens, allowing you to reverse it onto the bellows, just exactly the same way we do it today. And where the confusion came was because of the EL nickels also being reversed and going on a bellows. People were thinking that that's what they were primarily used for. But that is how you reverse mounted your standard prime lens onto this setup. And then you would focus it using the focusing rail, this gorgeous, lovely, smooth bellows here, to position your lens at the right distance for the size image you needed. So that's all there is to it. And the BR3 that you've been using to protect the end of your EL nickel from getting banged up was actually so that you could have a nice, light, tight fitting between the lens and the bellows at the end. Isn't that cool? Wonderful stuff. And Robert, being the gentleman that he is, donated this entire setup, and I'm trying to figure out when and how best to make this a prize. This needs to be a grand prize for something, but I don't want to wait. I don't want to have you wait too long to have a crack at it, though. That's why I was asking a couple of weeks ago if anybody was still into the whole process of slide duplication, because that would be the person who would really benefit from this. Yeah, you don't want to just sit this on a shelf. So there is one other lens involved, and that is this EL nickel is a spare, if you can believe it. It's an extra one that Robert donated, and because of that, I put this up as the prize for last month's photo contest, which was won by none other than Bruce Malcolm, the man of flying bees. So, you know, flying bees and drunk wasps, I guess, are his specialty. But yeah, this is actually his lens. Yeah, he should have it in about a year if I mail it tomorrow to Australia. I think it goes on the slow boat. But yeah, congratulations. That is quite the prize. This was the first dedicated macro lens, or the first lens especially for macro that I bought. I also had a 50mm that I used in reverse until I got this, but this changed everything. I love this lens. And one other thing about it, somebody, I'm going to forget who it was. I have forgotten who it was. Somebody told me that the thing I had been saying all along about this lens was that it's optically the same as the 50mm f2.8N. It is not optically the same. It's not even close. And he sent me the diagrams from Japan to prove it. They're two very different lenses. And I will be publishing some kind of a retraction or a correction for that, explaining what the differences are. They are very different lenses. They behave very similarly, and they have most of the same features in their use. They're both very flat field. They both are sharp corner to corner. Very nice lenses, but they are different. And the newer one, I don't know where I put it. The newer one has some coatings, so it's less likely to see flare. Let me see what questions I'm being asked. I'm just going on and on, aren't I? Robert also, by the way, when he sent me this, he knows that I'm building things with stepper motors and working on my positioning system. So I received the ultimate motor for that purpose. In fact, it's just right there. I'm going to go get it. Hang on. I don't know. I haven't noticed whether or not Curious is here tonight. Probably not. Curious comes on Thursdays. But if he sees this, he will have a meltdown, because this is a closed loop linear actuator driven by a stepper motor. This is like if a focus rail was made by an astronaut. It would look like this. It's got sensors on the motor and sensors on the rail. These are hall sensors that pick up the travel of this little metal tab and tell the computer exactly where the trolley is at any given moment. And then it compares it to where the motor thinks it is and makes any corrections. So it's what's called a closed loop system, and this is something that mere mortals don't often get to hold one of these things, let alone put it into a machine. So this was from Robert Wester, who was formerly of Moon's Motors, which is a very big, prestigious, high-precision motor manufacturer. And he donated this to the cause, actually to me. So we're going to make something very, very cool with it this year. Okay, I just had to show you that. I said I was going to look at my messages, and then I started talking again. So, Walter, does that answer your question? Yes, I now have the camera working. The problem was simply one of not having the right capture card. The one I was using wasn't working. Don't know why. Hey, Jim, glad you made it. Oh, you're looking for AI under your bed? That's where you'll find it. That's where it hangs out. Did anybody mess with AI this week with ChatGPT? No? You should have done. It's just a lot of fun. I've been experimenting with it and seeing what it can do, and making it lie by asking it difficult science questions. It just makes stuff up. But there you go. That's computers for you. Hey, Gary, glad you made it. And Jeff has made it from Idaho as well. They grow potatoes in Idaho. For those of you not from America, you need to know that. It's important. It'll be in a quiz at some point. All right, let me see. Gilles, I suspect your tongue was in your cheek when you referred to me as Guru Walls. Only my mother used to call me that. Macro everything around me. Glad you made it. Tell me, have you decided on a picture yet, sir? I'll show you one, and you can tell me if you like it. This is a private conversation that I'm having with Macro Everything Around Me, because he won the competition, last month, and I need to give him a prize, and he doesn't want me to teach him anything. I don't blame him. That would be terrible. So I'm trying to find a picture that he might like. What about that one? That's the head of a damselfly, and I like that one, but I've got others. So you know, you've seen them in the videos. You tell me which one you want. Does anybody have a pair of stereo glasses handy? Look at that, if you do. I'm only going to leave it up for a couple of seconds, but you can't look at it with your eyes crossed, because it's not one of those. It's a parallel. So can you see it? Here, I'll put mine on and I'll ooh and ah. Oh, that just looks amazing. Oh, that does look pretty amazing. I've been doing these stereo images a lot more lately because I am actually finding it to be incredibly satisfying and a lot harder than I initially thought at first. But boy, when you get them really popping off the page like this, they are a lot of fun. So don't forget, we've got a stereo competition coming up in the month probably of June, I'm guessing. June or July, we'll say June. And that's going to be a big one. That's going to be judged by Rick and I both. So yeah, you've got to be on your best behavior for that. But there'll be a big prize for that. Yeah, definitely. Maybe even, you know, what we've been looking at. So that's certainly something to think about. You do need to practice. Don't just be waiting until the last minute and then decide, oh, I'm going to do a quick stereo thing. No, it won't work that way. You'll drive yourself mad trying to do a quick stereo thing. You've got to practice it in advance. Anyway, let me know if you can tonight so that I can print it and get it out to you before I forget. Andrew, welcome. Glad you made it. From... where are you from? In Minnesota? The Saxim Bog. That doesn't sound like a real place. That sounds like a science fiction planet. Are you sure? Well, you would know. You live there. Okay, fair enough. What's the backstory for my screen? Oh, for Amy's screen name. I could guess, but no. Ask Amy. She'll let you know. Alistair, good evening. How's everything up in the borders? Nice, I hope. Evening, Arthur. Evening, Jeff again. And yeah, that's where we started when Dave said he could hear me. All right, so either the chat stopped or my scrolling machine broke down. Oh, Patrick just dropped some CHFs in the pot. Thank you, Patrick. That's very kind of you. And you know what? There's all kinds of questions up in here. The scroll bar wasn't working. Oh well, there you go. Everything else is working pretty nice. What do you think of all this slidey business? Yeah, this was new, and it seems to be working. I even had a title. Anyway, it's very impressive. I'm doing all this just with my fingertips. But I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning practicing last night. Anyway, where was I? Let me see. Bruce, you're here. Congratulations on your win in the competition. That wasp is still one of my favorite pictures this year. Absolutely fantastic. Has everybody seen Bruce's wasp? Well, if you haven't, you're getting ready to. Where did I put it? Does anybody know? I don't really know where I put it. Yes, I do. I put it in a special folder so I wouldn't lose it, and I called it, what would I have called it? Just chat amongst yourselves. I swore I wouldn't do this and just look for stuff. No, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to just open my website up, and then then you'll get to see it. So this is my website right here, and it's opening on the opening page, the first page. So let me switch over to that. That's my main page of my website. I should get rid of that picture of my wasp, shouldn't I? And there it is. Give Me Another Drink by Bruce Malcolm. Isn't it lovely? Looks great on that page too. Fantastic. Well done, Bruce. Congratulations. Alrighty. Let's see, where were we? We're looking at some mail messages. All right. Do you think that audio sounds a little bit better than usual? I'm using my regular video microphone instead of the computer microphone. It should sound a little bit better. I hope it does anyway. Daniel, evening from BC. And Seabell from the South Pacific. We're from all over tonight, aren't we? And Mike joining us from Phoenix, Arizona. Lovely. Let me see. Oh, here we have a newcomer. Welcome. Welcome, Tycho Likes Mastodon from Montana. I love Montana. I love that Big Sky area. Used to go there every winter for a little while. Love that place. Absolutely gorgeous state. Almost worked there at one point. Yeah, I love it. Very nice. Tycho Loves Mastodon. That's not a name you'll forget in a hurry. No, I won't anyway. Susan, good evening. How is Huntsville this evening? Does everybody know that the clocks go back to sane this weekend? I was so thrilled to discover that. It'll be staying light until after 4 o'clock in the evening from now on, which means I can get out and take some pictures and catch some bugs to photograph. That's fantastic. Cannot wait. And we've got lots of bugs to clean as well. Good. Let me see. Hey, Larry, glad you made it. Laura G from Peoria, welcome. Glad you made it. And bugs all year round would make it more fun. Yes, well, you have to move to Alabama for that, or Georgia, or Florida, or Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina. Any one of those. Move there and you'll have bugs, more bugs than you can shake a stick at. You know, I could send you some bugs. I thought about doing that last year. I catch so many bugs that I let go, and I could just not let some of them go and send them to people. But then I thought that would quickly turn into a very big job. I hope everybody got their Decon 90. I hadn't heard from anybody. If any of you are here, raise your hand to say, yeah, I got my Decon 90. Stop talking about it. There you go. Hey, Phil, glad you made it. And Walter is saying hooray because I got the camera working. It was just a matter of time. Oh, dear. What zooms are working a treat, Bruce? The zoom lenses or the zoom telephone calls? Don't know. Carlos Ureta. There's a name that's familiar. You agree 100% with what, sir? I must have said something... Oh, the zooms probably. Yeah, there you go. John, welcome. Glad you made it. And tap the display back button a few times for a clean screen. I didn't want it to be clean. That was the thing. I wanted the microscope information to show on there and the camera stuff for when I take pictures. Yeah, I can turn it off though, can't I? Is it on still? Let me have a look. Yeah, it is on, isn't it? Well, that's a shame. Tap what now? This. Ooh. I think I just broke it. Yeah, we better go back to. Yeah, that was quick. That's what my guru said to me while we were training last night. He said, just if you do the settings and you like them, save them and lock them and don't ever touch them again. And it became the saying of the evening. If you like it, lock it. And I just broke the cardinal rule. I liked it and then I unlocked it and now it's broken. So, all right, you were right, sir. I'll listen to you in the future. Anyway, it's the display back button a few times. I'll try one more time. Hang on. Display back button. That's that button. Let me see. Just bear with me. Oh, I did it too many times, but it worked temporarily. You, sir, are a genius. Well done, Walter. That is absolutely fantastic. You got it. Perfect. So just tap that little button a couple of times. Brilliant. Well done, Walter. All right. Gilles. No, it's not going to be called the Allan Walls Macro Knowledge Repository because that would be the OMCRA, and that just doesn't roll off the tongue. We're going to call it something else. That's kind of a surprise for right now. Oh, and then Carlos agrees with Gilles. Yeah. So maybe we've got a name there. I'll just have to learn how to pronounce it. What caused you to say, I won't be doing any vertical focus bracketing for a while? Oh, yeah. I had a little misadventure with my vertical rig, and I still am not exactly sure what I did wrong, but I was doing a manual stack at 20 times magnification, and I had a runaway rail. The rail moved forward or down when I pressed the start button, and I'm just not sure why. It wouldn't normally do that unless I put the settings in wrong. But fortunately, I had one of Bud Parrott's lens hoods on the end of my objective, and unbeknownst to me, that thing has designed into it a crumple zone at the end, like a Volvo. If you've ever driven a Volvo into a brick wall, I haven't, but I did destroy the brakes on one once. No, the transmission. But that's a completely different story. But when the objective hit the slide, the lens hood crumpled at the tip, which bought me just enough of a second to get the thing stopped. But yeah, it really spoiled my day. It didn't hurt anything, and everything is still tip-top condition, except the poor lens hood, which got scrunched. But yeah, it put me off the idea of leaving it unattended in vertical until I know what I'm doing. I just have been using the system horizontally for so long. It's a little counterintuitive to me sometimes in setting it up. And I was, as always, in a hurry. I had other things going on. So that's what it was about. I should have been clearer at the time. But that's what the not going to be doing it for a while was about. Hey, Robert, how are you doing, sir? Is everything okay? You know what that'll mean, don't you? So good. I hope so. And Patrick, now, that is very generous of you. And we were just talking about you the other day. We were talking about Fibonacci and his numbers and cross-eyed viewing and puzzles. Yeah, and your name came up, as it should under those circumstances. This doesn't mean anything to anybody else, does it? Patrick and I were talking about a talent that he has for looking at stereo images, and he used to use it to win over the win those competitions where you had to compare two different pictures that had differences in them. Apparently, if you look at them cross-eyed, the differences are pretty obvious. Who would have guessed? I would never have known that. Dave, given the improved results using the DCR 250 and the Mitutoyo 5X on shorter tube length, would you expect similar improvements with the 20X, with the 50X? Let me be very, very clear that the improvements that you see on short focus are largely due to the fact that you're looking at the picture from further away. It is a perceptive improvement. Of course, all improvements are how you perceive them, but it's not a panacea. And the coverage of the sensor is nowhere near as good, especially if you're using a full frame camera. So the answer is yes, at the size of, if you compare apples to apples, print size, it's a good bit sharper, and you can see that sharpness in the image. But that's at the center, and it quickly drops off to the edges. And by the time you get to the edge of the full frame sensor, you don't even have an image. So the answer is yes, it does work at 20, depending on what you use. If you use the DCR 250, it gets the 20 to about 12x. The 50, it gets you about 44x, I think. But yeah, it is very important that you have a clear understanding of what part of the photograph you plan to use, because you are not going to have edge-to-edge coverage or anything even close to it when you do short focus. There are other trade-offs too, but yeah, it is a cool trick to have. And if you are looking for the central part of your picture, it's probably the sharpest 5x you'll ever use. I mean, sharpest 5x objective. So yeah, I hope that clears it up. Hey Adam, you're from Tampa. I love Tampa. I took my board exams in Tampa, and yeah, it's a lovely town. And the St. Petersburg Dali Museum is one of my favorite places in the world to visit. That's wonderful. Oh, I missed Joseph's question, but Joseph, I'm going to come back up to it in just a second. But let me finish answering Adam's. Have I ever done an episode photographing butterflies? You're interested in doing that and was wondering if you had any helpful tips. Yes, I have. I have an endless supply of helpful tips on how to photograph butterflies. Do you want to photograph them out in nature, or are you planning to photograph them after they have been dispatched in your studio? Big difference, because yeah, they are two different approaches. And the answer is yes, I've done videos on both, but it's time to do them again, I think. In fact, I feel fairly sure there is going to be a learning path that addresses outdoor photography, and very possibly butterfly photography in particular. So tell me, what are you most interested in doing, Adam? Photographing the little buggers while they're flying around, or getting them on a pin and doing it in the studio? Let me know which, because that will change the rest of my answer. And Barry from New Zealand, just getting interested in macro. Oh, are you going down one rabbit hole, sir? It's a deep one, yeah. Once you get started with this stuff and it gets its hooks in you, it's pretty much for life. But that raises an interesting question. What about when it's not? And that's what I was really getting at earlier on this evening. What is it that makes people interested in macro in cycles? That has always bothered me. Why would somebody get so interested and spend money buying equipment and learning new stuff, and then lose interest in it? I want to know what happens at that losing interest point, because I think that we can help you not lose interest by keeping it really urgent and fun and exciting and interesting and different. There's so much macro to learn. I mean, I'm just depressed about the fact that I don't have another couple of lifetimes to learn it in. The more I learn, the less I know about this stuff anyway. Yeah, definitely. It's what I want to know. Now let me see what Joseph was asking a wee bit earlier. Allan Wall's new and used bugs. Well, I guess that kind of is. Dave got the Decon 90. Excellent, great, glad you got it. Thanks to everybody who requested some and chipped into the shipping fund and all that. That's good. Let me see. There was another question somewhere, but I'm missing it. You know, Barry, the New Zealand is the #1 place on my list of places I want to go. I bet you've got some fascinating bugs down there that have just never mingled with the rest of the bug kingdom. I'd love to go down there and visit. Could you check with your Prime Minister and see if I'd be allowed down there with a beard like this? Possibly not. And how long does it take to fly there? 6 weeks? I've heard it's a long way away. But yeah, get back to me on both of those and I'll make a decision. Gilles wants to trade bugs for maple syrup. Yes, I'll do that. How many bugs do you want? I want a gallon of maple syrup. I would drink that stuff. It's not good for you though, I don't think. Have you considered just leaving the syrup outside and waiting for the bugs to come to it? And that way you can keep your cake and eat it too. Think about that. That's a clever idea. Now, Amy is passing on Adam's question about the butterflies. Yeah, I think we've got that. I think we've got that one covered for now. Depends. I know I've done more. Oh, I've done quite a bit indoor with butterfly scales, you know, on their wings. I love photographing them. They're great fun. Very difficult. And yeah, lock it. Bud wants me to lock it. It's locked. Whatever it was, it's locked. Lightroom retains the setting of everything in your catalog, so you can just copy settings out of a picture you like. Why are you telling me that, Joseph? Are you... I don't know. I don't understand that. I mean, I know that that's the case because that's what one does, is copy one's settings and apply them to another picture. But did I say that I didn't know how to do that? I must have done. But I do know how to do that. Pat, do you have any info on the Mitutoyo M-Plan APO near infrared 10x? What's the difference? The difference is it is optimized in its chromatic corrections for the red end of the spectrum. It can be used like a normal objective. The only reason you probably wouldn't is because it costs about 3 times as much. But optically, it is the same. It has the same visible light spectrum. It's just optimized, and they use them mostly, I think, for using lasers through them. For industrial purposes. But I tell you, who will correct me on that if I'm wrong is Joseph. Joseph has probably got a better answer for you, but that's what it is. It just has an extended range of correction, and that takes some very fancy glass to correct you can't have your infrared light being deflected at all if you're targeting lasers with it. And that's what that's all about. So it's very expensive for something you'll probably never use. It's like the high resolution Mitutoyos. They're high resolution for using with very expensive lasers, but for eyeballs, you don't need it. Does that answer your question? I hope so. Yes, the geometry of snail shells was part of the discussion, but we were also talking about all manner of other things. And it was fascinating. Yes, we have intelligent conversations here from time to time. My sound is coming on one side only, on the left channel. That is very weird. Am I just talking out of one side of my mouth? You know what? That is very strange, but now as you say that, it does appear to be just coming out of one channel. How do you fix that? Does anybody know? It's probably something with the doohickey. Yeah, the thing that takes my microphone signal and pumps it into the computer hole. Yeah, I'll have to figure that out. Can you just turn your left ear up? I honestly don't know how to fix that. And I'm afraid that if I press this button with the gear cogs on it, which I'm getting ready to press now, yeah, nothing happened. Okay, I'm going to try to do this on the fly. It says I'm not mono. I should stop doing this. I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. I will figure it out though before the next time. That made me nervous, pressing that gear cog button in the middle of talking like that. I thought, oh, this is the beginning of the end. So there we go. I don't know what the answer is, but I know somebody who does, who will probably be calling me in a minute to tell me to press a button. Did that do it? Any better? No? Okay. I'll stop pressing the buttons. So it's left channel only. Yes, I can see it's actually only the left channel that's registering the sound. So I don't know. It's probably because I locked it before it was ready to be locked. Is probably what it was. But I'm not going to unlock it. If I suddenly stop talking and just have nothing to do, then I'll do it. But I think I have to keep going to the end here. Everybody's just got... Did you have both channels earlier and then it suddenly became one? Tell me that. That will be important diagnostic information. All right. Let me see. Joseph says that near-infrared objectives flare in the blue and violet. Well, who would have guessed that? I wouldn't have done, that's for sure. Pat D asked, nope, already answered that question. And Adam says, yes, he's most interested in learning how to shoot them on a pin. Yes, okay, all right, great. Yes, we have covered butterflies in a lot of different ways, but yes, one thing we haven't done is shoot local butterflies in the studio, and they are hard to catch. They are there is a very specific way that they need to be euthanized and preserved and cleaned. They must never be wet, for example, and you don't want to catch them in a container with anything else because they will get their scales knocked off. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky and time consuming, but I will definitely, you can buy butterflies too. You can buy them already pinned or unpinned. They're just expensive, and I'd rather, we have a trazillion of them around here. So yeah, getting a butterfly shouldn't be a problem, and we will do that. Are you interested in full-size images of a butterfly doing butterfly things, or are you more interested in super close-up pictures of proboscis and scales and things like that? We can do both. They're just different setups. But yeah, definitely. Butterflies, we'll put that on the list. In fact, I'll make sure that's part of the outdoor learning, indoor learning path. Okay. No problem, says Joseph. The beard is the beard. Oh, you were talking about the New Zealand thing. There's got to be a way for me to ask a question and then remember I asked it so that the answers make sense when they come through. Yeah, I was concerned that the beard might disqualify me. Okay, Adam, we will get that taken care of. Question from Bud. What is the part number of the Leica microscope component that would allow you to work on insects while using binocular vision? Okay. Yes, I have written a post to put on PMN, photomacrography.net. That is Rick's forum. And they've got a lot of people over there who are into microscopes and understand a lot of this stuff. But I will mention it here too. I have the part. This is the surgical beam splitter. It's called the Viz 50. 50%. What this does is my beam splitter, which you can possibly see if I was to press this button right here, and then move this back, and I'll swing my microscope over. I don't know if you can see it yet. Yeah, close enough. So yeah, you can't actually. It's up at the top here, but there's a piece just right off the camera. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll put a picture of it in there. That is. I'll tell you what, I'll take it off and show it to you. This is probably where I'll do something horrible like drop it. It's... My wire's not long enough. There. Okay, you see it? The brown thing, this thing, takes the light that comes up from the microscope and it splits one eye's worth off to the camera. That leaves me with one eye to look at the subject. And that's the problem, because with one eye you don't have depth perception and you can't do fine work under the microscope because you don't know where the tip of your instrument is. It's often not where you think, and you'll end up skewering the creature. So they invented, this was from the operating room, this is where I first saw this, is a beam splitter that takes 50% of the light from both eyes, leaving 50% of the light from both eyes to go to my brain so that I still have binocular vision. And this is that. This does that, and it works. However, it has another piece that fits in there, and it has a tube on it and an adapter at the end, and the camera goes on that. That's the piece I can't find. I found one this weekend that had this plus the tube, and it was almost $1,000. So that was out of the question. As I said in the post, it was out of my price range by $1,000. So there you go. But there is this other piece that goes on there that allows the camera to be used, and that's the thing I can't find. I spent part of the weekend trying to build one. Well, I didn't try to build one, I did build one and ruined some tubes in the process, but I made the right shape for the dovetail. And yeah, it didn't work, but yeah, I tried. A for effort. So yeah, this is what needs to get remedied at some point, but I don't think that any exist anywhere, but it's the photo tube that I need to get. Okay, now would be a good time to insert ads, the thing says. I've never done that. I don't think I'm going to start tonight, though. That sounds like it would just kill the mood, wouldn't it? Let me see. Questions. You want to know what the part number is? I have no idea what the part number is. The microscope's an MZ6. An MZ6 Leica stereo dissecting microscope, and it is the beam splitter is the Viz 50, Viz.50%, and it's the camera tube or the photo tube that goes on that is missing. Yeah, so there you go. That's the piece I'm looking for. If anybody has one that's sitting in your granny's back garden gathering rust, send it on. I'll clean it up myself. Let me see. Joseph, rabbit populations was what Fibonacci was working on when he came up with the sequence. Yes, I've read that as well, but why? Was it myxomatosis? I think might have been the reason he was doing that. Anyway, who knows? Hey Gustavo, glad you're here. Did you remember any of the stuff from your lesson? Has it helped? Tell people if it's helped. If it didn't help, don't tell anybody, and I won't bring it up again. Glad you made it anyway. Gilles got 6 feet of snow up there. Well, it's your own fault for living there. I told you that when you moved up there. I said you'll regret it the first time you have 6 feet of snow. I know I would. And John, yeah, you're coming and going from macros, a mix of lack of resources, such as this channel, the cost of getting deeper, and simply wanting to experiment in many genres. Yes, that's what I thought. I thought the things that will kind of kill the momentum are cost, because this stuff can be super expensive, but it can also be super affordable if you know what to get and how to work around it. Yeah, you can get a $200 microscope objective that is very nearly as good as a $2,000 Mitutoyo, for example. There are ways around it. $60 Raynox instead of a $400 ITL 200. Same lens, basically. Well, yeah, basically. So there's that, and then there's just being overwhelmed, too much stuff to learn and no systematic way to learn it, which is another one of the things that we are planning to address, is making the pacing more realistic and more reasonable. A lot of people also just get bored with it because they find they're just photographing the same ant or something over and over again, and that is where community is so crucial. and having things like the photo competition to keep it changed up, and to have Discord, because Discord is an incredible melting pot of ideas in macro photography over on my channel. If you don't belong to that, you definitely need to. But there are other ways of keeping it fun. If you can find some, I have not found any, but if you can find some macro photographers in your area, there is nothing quite as potent as having a small local group that actually gets together. I know that Bill Wheeler is one of our longest time supporters, has a very vibrant group of very different, very interesting macro photographers up in the north left corner of America, where they get together and actually go out on field trips to take pictures, and that kind of thing almost guarantees that you'll stay interested in it without having to invest a lot of money. But if you have other ideas, if anybody has ideas about why you lost interest and come back now, what was it? Tell me, because we'll fix it if we can. But yeah, I hear you loud and clear, John. You've been practicing butterflies, Adam has, in-flight photography with a 105 macro lens. Oh, that is tough. That is one of the things that it's going to be in a learning path this summer. Is I was donated an insects in flight high-speed shutter system from Cognisys, the stack shot people. I am just so excited. I'm counting the days till we have a nice summer day when I can set this up in a flower bed and start getting some pictures with it. But insects in flight is going to be a big part of this coming insect season for sure. So the butterflies will be part of that too. But yeah, learning to... The problem with buying butterflies, if you think about maybe buying one or two to do this photography at home in the studio, is the butterflies that you get from shops are not sold as butterflies. They're really sold as butterfly wings. And oftentimes what they'll do is they'll pinch the abdomen off. I don't know why they would do that, but they throw the abdomen away. Presumably it rots or something, and leave just the wings and the thorax, which is fine, except it's not fine at all if you want to photograph a natural looking butterfly. And also sometimes the heads on those things are shocking. All the antennae and the proboscis and everything broken off, and the wings are perfect and the whole rest of the thing's a mess. If you're going to buy butterflies, get them from my friend in Paris. And who can remember the name of the shop in Paris? It'll come to me. It's a French name. I'll put it in the show description. But he will make sure that you get a butterfly that is intact. And I think the guys in Eastern Europe will as well. The Insect Trade EU. If you ask them, they'll make sure you get intact ones. But otherwise, beware buying butterflies. I was unhappy because I changed settings on my camera, or settings that I lived in. You speak in riddles sometimes, Joseph, because you're so smart. And yeah, I can't keep up. Joseph says, oh no, we talked about the blue-violet flares, which sound terrible. And the sound thing, I don't know. Sorry, it's still just one channel. I haven't done anything to fix it. So Bruce just gave me five quid to fix the sound, probably. He's probably only getting it in one ear hole as well. And Adam just threw in $10. Thank you, guys. This actually, I was told never remind people about that dollar thing at the bottom. Well, I didn't, and you didn't need to be reminded. That's fantastic. I'm thrilled. Thank you. All right, let me see. Let me catch up on these last few. Oh, that's a super chat thing that you did there by putting that money in there. So Adam, you get another question. You get as many questions as you want. I'll keep answering your questions, as does Bruce. Nick, where can I source a lens hood for my Mitutoyo 20X? Nick, do you have a 3D printer? Because I can hook you up with the inventor of said lens hood, and he will, I will make sure that you get the STL files to print your own. If you do not have a printer, there are local print hubs, apparently, 3D hubs that will print things for you. I hear they're fairly expensive. But that's all I can think of. I haven't talked to Bud about doing this commercially. What do you think, Bud? Do you have any ideas of how Nick could do that other than what I just said? I think that's the way. In fact, I posted these over on Discord and also in Patreon. So they're available to download, both of those places. I'll try to find the files and put them in the video description that will go with this video. Okay, so check that in about an hour, and it should have the links in there. Yes, Joseph's musing this idea about ads being inserted in here. It asks me that every 20 minutes, and I just say, no, thank you. No ads. Yeah. Joseph's discount bug music for all your bug slideshows. There you go. That I think everybody would buy one of them. Oh God, the Human Centipede. Trust you to have watched the Human Centipede. That's the most appalling film. Gee. All right, let me see. I'm a bit confused there. I'm just going to skip over that one. And Bruce and Gilles are trading weathers. When we get to trading weathers, it usually means it's about 9 o'clock. Oh, it's 9:04. I was right, yeah. So Bruce wants a little bit of snow, and Gilles wants the 120-degree weather of Sydney. Knock yourselves out, guys. Good night, Robert. Thanks for coming by, and yep, I completely understand. We'll talk. And yeah, everybody else, Seabell, you you dumped your blue violet flares at the end of the 70s. I'm glad to say I never had blue velvet flares at any point, even in the 60s. All right, let me see. So Nick, you don't have a printer, but you know people locally who can print it for you. I will send you the files for the 5X, 10X, and 20X lens hoods, and just give them to your friend to print the one you want. And yeah, it'll when you see the file, it'll show you the pieces that it comes in, and you glue them together with super glue, and you're good to go. And they are. It is a really good idea to have one on your vertical rig. I use it on the horizontal too, but on the vertical rig now, it is mandatory. I'm never putting another $1,000 piece of glass on that vertical stand without a hood on it, just to be safe. All right, we'll get that to you today. Steve, how's it going? Is there a good way to mount the Nisi 180 to the table? Yeah, there is. It's a little tricky. You've discovered that the Nisi 180 rail has a handle, and the handle hits the table if you sit it on the table. That's why it has legs, which are the worst part of the whole thing. Why they designed those in, I have no idea, because the legs wobble. Well, the whole rail wobbles if it's on its legs. What I did was I took a piece of wood. It was actually a square dowel thing, the length of that, and I sandwiched it with 2 pieces of aluminum strip, about 1/8 inch on either side, and that raised the whole thing up about 1.5 inches off the table, gave me plenty of room, and held it rock solid. Just drilled 2 bolts right down through the bottom of the rail, and yeah, that's all you have to do, and it will hold it completely solid. Do it on a board so that you can carry the board around with you, and you don't have to worry about it every time you use it. The harder thing is figuring out how you're going to index the lead screw so that you can get small enough steps. But that's for another evening. That discussion is. Yeah, but I think I am on. I think I am on mono. But Bud is telling me just to change to mono, but I think I already am. I just unclicked it again, and you know that that's going to be problems. Let's have a look. I'll look. Our time's up anyway, so there's nowhere in there I can change it. Okay, I'll go one other place and have a look before we quit. It would be nice if you could. Did that do it? No, that didn't do it. One last thing I'll try before I go, because I know you'll be lying awake at night worrying about why I didn't get this fixed. No, don't know how to do it. Sorry, guys. Nope. I'll get it figured out as soon as we get done. I know I will. Too many things in there for me to forget about it. So let me say goodbye to everybody. The Nisi feet do unscrew. They come completely off, but they're M3 size bolts. That is not hefty enough to use them as mount points. So I would go with the piece of wood thing. It's a better idea. Alistair and Seabell are chatting away about their flared trouser legs, so I'll stay out of that one completely. Bruce, mono for 2 ears, not stereo. Yeah, he's right though. If it's mono, the sound just comes out all higgledy-piggledy out of both ear holes. But yeah, he's spot on. That is the way that I can temporize it until then. Okay, so I am going to... yes, Gary, you're right. It does have... There is a new model of the Nisi. I haven't tried it yet. They haven't sent it to me, but they may still yet. We'll see. Okay, that's it. I'm going to have to stop. Otherwise, I'll just keep going, and you know that's no good. Any questions I didn't answer, I'll get to next time, but I think we've got them all covered. Good night, everybody. If you can make it on Thursday, please do. I'm going to have something exciting to talk about then as well. And yeah, it'll be fun. 2 o'clock Central Time, Thursday afternoon, is WeMacro 2, and it's going to be rocking. And I'll have my stereo thing fixed by then. It'll be fixed in about 2 minutes, but it will be fixed by then. Good night, everybody. See you again very soon. Thanks for coming. And thank you for everybody who did a super chat thing. Thank you. Take care.